All right. We are open for business. Hey, Fuxia. Ziali. Fuxia, you're the first. Winner, chicken dinner. Good job. So, just look. I set everything up yesterday, for round 4. Just look at that, seeing the competitors pitted up against each other. So cool to see the gallery, like this versus that, rather than a big work in progress thread with finals. Now we can actually see, like the final entrance against each other, which is really cool. It's so beautiful. Fantastic entries. It's really, really good semi-final. Amazing. Amazing. Hey, Spectre. How's it going? Rolomancer. That's good. What's good? So, any topic suggestions? I still fantasy, I feel. I feel like still doing some fantasy. Hey, Steven. What's up? No, the prompt is open. I'm calling for prompts. Let's go. I'd say fantasy direction. That's all. Weeping Night. That's pretty cool. Battle Weary. Right, so we got Weeping Night and Battle Weary. Any other suggestions? Hey Gria, how's it going? Miguel, ¿cómo está? And that's the end of my Spanish knowledge. And I probably butchered it. Warmup Lizard. Seducing Ogre. What? That's a fantastic topic. Swamp Hydra. Robot Goblin. Team Hunting. Hey Lorib, how's it going? What's up? Alright, I think we got enough topics. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, I'll roll an 8. If a number 8 drops in, there we go. Death is a DD fan. That was okay. Whew. Okay, 1d8. 7. Team Hunting. Oh. Hey, Crosshash. What's good? Team Hunting. Team Hunting. Okay, I saw instantly Tag Team Assassins. Kind of using each other as killing, but I'm switching the picture in between. I'm not sure I want to do Team Hunting that way, because that's all right. I got a picture in my head. Let's do it. Hey Rooney, how's it going? Okay, so the picture in my head was so the picture in my head was a big old like pig monster running towards the camera, Why is that broken? Why am I not getting that post right? No, that's better ish. So like a pig guy running and like some sort of goblin jumping above. That was like the picture. Hey Rooney. Good morning. Ah. Stretch. Right, so I was really happily surprised that so many people decided to do the morning Monday study. It's a really fun subject, and I think what a lot of people, what happened with a lot of people is that they actually focused on something that they haven't really focused fully on, which was like with all information and all new knowledge, there is something to be said about. It was a great photo indeed. It's something to be said about scaling back a problem into its essential parts. Miguel. Well, Miguel, if you come more than once a week, the chances are that you're going to get picked is they're dramatically increased. Just saying, Miguel. Where was I? Yeah, there's something to be said about simplifying the task. Let's say in this instance, like Study Monday, what I decided that I wanted to study was soft edges and hard edges, right? And instead of complicating it with a lot of different brushes, I scaled it back, simplified it to the point where I just used one big soft round brush and varied the size of it, and in that way, and a lot of people did the same, more or less. And what happens then is that you're actually practicing the idea of it in a uncontrived way, where you don't get lost in all the tricks. You're only focusing on the simplicity of the task, and you're actually considering the challenge or considering the study of actually having to deal with a soft and harder edges and focal point. And I think a lot of people need to start doing that in general, in terms of understanding something. Like, let's take round four's topic, right? You had to do a minimum of 3 character composition. Was like, okay, you have to have at least 3 figures, and how do you go about dealing with it, right? So some of you went completely ham and went crazy, and had like 20 characters where either had just 3 characters or 4, and there's always this chance, like one of you had a lot of characters, and it stopped being about the characters, because it kind of, they were everywhere, right? But it's still valid. I mean, I'm not saying it's not within the requirements of the topic, right, for round 4, but it's the same principle of, let's say, this Monday study, right, where we played around with edges, we could have easily gone a lot more advanced. But I would argue that you don't necessarily learn more. You'd get a prettier picture that you can say, look how pretty it is, but not necessarily more knowledge. Because when you scale it down, simplify it, the tool, or to simplify the approach to the point where you're just using one soft brush and playing around with edges, you're actually yeah, this just sounds like I'm repeating myself, but yeah, you deal with a task absolutely different, because you can't make it complicated. You have to use these essential parts. And the same with what I was trying to get to with multiple figures is that if you only have 3 figures, you have to start posing them correctly, and you have to start balancing them out with each other. And if you would have done a study with that, for that, you know, let's say your 3-figure composition, you do a study to see, first you would sketch out the composition, you would then study the anatomy so you get the anatomy correct, and all these things. And that's why when I was teaching at CGMA, I was breaking the process down into steps so that you could deal with each step in a straightforward way and understand what you need to do, so that when you then like how I tried to explain it was, you simplify it, you compartmentalize the steps and you simplify them, and you can repeat them each step in isolation. And the better you get at each step in isolation, you can put step 1 and 2 together, 3 to 4 together, 5 to 6 together, and then you only do 3 steps, right, instead of 6. And then when the better you get, you can maybe put 1, 2, 3, 4 together, so you only have 1 step and then the last step. So the more you practice it, the more you understand it, and the more you can implement it. It's the same with with this yesterday's study. If you learn the simplified way, where you grasp the theory and it's not advanced, and it's the basic idea, and you repeat that easy, manageable way enough times, you can start by default making it more advanced, because you fully grasp the concept. It's the same with martial arts, right? I have the exact same approach to it. Like, you practice the move in isolation, and you don't even practice the full move. You go in like halfway a throw, halfway a throw, until you get it just right, like your angle and your pull completely right, and then you practice the full throw, or the full move, and then you practice that until you get it, and then you practice it in a live situation where the opponent isn't standing there allowing you to do the move, right? And then the last is in full competition, you know, when you go to full speed and full force. Is that axe wielding Satan, Crosatch? I don't know really what it is. I'm thinking a pig man of sorts. We'll see. I'm only 10 minutes in. Hey, Genolab, how's it going? my suggestions on posing figures for a composition study of 3 people. The challenge with using, hey Gym Animal, welcome back. It was a long time no see. What's good? So, what I was saying, yeah. So what the problem with a 3-figure composition, what is generally known as the challenge there, is to have them interact, to have them sit in the same space together, right? The challenge when you're doing one figure, this one figure can do whatever they want, because they don't need to answer, if you may. The figure don't need to answer to the other people about their actions or pose or placement in the world, right? You can get away with more because there is nothing to compare to. As soon as you put in another character into the composition, you now have to have these 2 people sync with each other, make sense with each other on multiple parts, right? It's depth, perspective, anatomy, lighting, like 3D, 2D graphic design, as in where is it on the canvas, right? Hey, Lee McGuire. Hey, Jens Claessens. Go damn. If you don't know Jens Claessens, you are missing out. Amazing portrait artist, concept artist, amazing guy. Jesus. Lee McGuire, well, thank you. It's a random topic of team hunting. I think it was Atski, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it Zealin? Oh, shit. So my idea is like a pigman and pigboy, they're team hunting you. Zealin, right, cool. Zealin, yeah, 1 year. Oh, well, not 1 year, of one day, hopefully. So yeah, gents, if you want to know, that could easily look like something else. Gents, if you want to drop your link to your work, please do. People need to see your magic, the magic that is gents. Hard mood about this. We're halfway through the half-hour drawing, and I don't know if I like it. It's a bit awkward, but hopefully it'll pan out to something interesting. It's a little bit. I don't know what to say about this drawing or painting. At least it's something, right? The idea of this stream, for all you new people, is it's called Warmup, right? So it's about just getting your creative mind going. So I'm asking always for a random topic from the chat. Roll a dice. The dice will decide what I'll draw. I'll start a timer, and I'll just try to draw something for half an hour. and I swap techniques, I swap topics, all sorts of things. Lee McGuire, the rust of the elbow. Yeah, you can say that. You can say that for sure. It's I have implemented it studio wide, so every artist that comes in the morning, they have to do the warm up, and we post it on our internal message board for archiving and feedback. So we usually try to give some comment, you know, some constructive comment about what went good or what went bad, so that we can forward our knowledge. But overall, it's a proven method. If you set this up in a way where you mandatorily, that's a word, in a mandatory way have to draw every morning, and it's without judgment, so you can do whatever you want, you can explore whatever you feel like, and then you just keep drawing and drawing and drawing, and you'll quickly notice the fact that you go within I'd say half a year of daily drawing uninhibited and in exploratory fashion, you're starting to evolve a lot. You're liberating your kind of creativity, and you can see that in a lot of artists that has been at my studio, at the studio where I work at, where I'm art director, is that they first feel the art is very contrived and very forced, and what happens afterwards is that you can start seeing them kind of punching out of their comfort zone, and you can start them testing that contrived method but adding some spice to it, and then you start seeing them completely shifting direction and implementing the explorations but in a new direction, and you start seeing some really interesting things, and the progress usually is quite fast. There's one artist who recently started as a junior artist, I believe, or a beginner, at least a new recruit, and the first warm-ups were really contrived and forced and awkward, and now really starting to open up like 4 months later. It's really fascinating to see. Rooney. Yeah, right. So let's go back to that topic of posing and the challenges behind it. So like I said, it's about them interacting with each other. So best way is to look at multiple character scenes, for example. You don't have one character in a scene in movies. Usually you have multiple characters, or you can have it on like a marketing business photos and things like that. And it's a separate challenge in itself to try to learn how to pose characters together. So you can study old masters, and you can see their solution. They actually used actors standing for them. So obviously, it became a lot more natural and realistic because it wasn't Google. But what you got to do, a good practice to try to learn that, is take one pose or draw one character, and then you have to add a character to it. So you draw someone standing, and then you draw someone standing next to the person, or with intent you say, okay, there's going to be two people wrestling, or I'm going to draw two people dance, or I'm going to have them fight. One way that I practiced dynamic duo or a pair drawing was I made thumbnails. Let's say 2 centimeter big humans on paper, and I had them interact with each other. I had them fighting, I had them shooting, I had them sword fighting back to back or against each other, or just try to come up with any scenario. Just try to have two characters interacting somehow, both of them lifting a box, both of them, one pushing a box, the other one whatever. I just try to come up with different ways and different angles, and you try to make them feel like they're sitting in the same space. And it's going to be awkward and wrong first. You have to accept that. But what happens when the more you place them together, the more you're going to be aware of these little things that you need to pay attention to, like composition and anatomy and perspective when they are relating to each other. Not so much a single character, but the scene, right? If you have a single character, the scene becomes about the character. It's like a focus, right? It's like just that character. But when you have two characters, you're gonna have to have them make sense narratively, compositionally. So it's a completely different task. And to practice that, first of all, you have to be able to place characters in the same space. So you could have like a basic 3-dimensional grid, and then you place one character there, you place one character there. One sleeping on the floor, one jumping, whatever you want them to do. Just be able to place them freely without challenge is like step 1, right? And then step 2 is to place them in a composition where it's beautiful and it's interesting to look at and all these things. And it's the same principle of painting with a soft brush only, to play around with lost and or hard and soft edges, is that you're simplifying the task to the point where you can grasp it and practice it in an uncomplicated way. And then you can go more advanced. So it was a little bit unfair of me to set a minimum 3-figure topic for Unreal Bjornament when you haven't had that before, and there hasn't been a escalation of complexity, right? It was just like, oh yeah, by the way, now you have to have multiple figures. Crosshatch and Rooney, it's easier said than done to have them interact with each other and feel like they are in the same space. You can draw multiple characters. I mean, you can do anatomy studies, body after body, right? But having the ability to place them so that they feel like they are there next to each other, or one further away and one is closer, or one is hanging upside down and the other one is kissing it, or whatever, whatever you choose to do, it's really hard to make them feel like they're connected. And it's not so much of just if you can draw one, you can draw two. In theory, that is right, but compositionally and artistically, it's not that easy to have them sit solidly together. So again, to kind of compartmentalize it and make it tangible, start thumbnailing or simplify the task. So simple humans interacting with each other. Get that down really, really well, where there's no jarring bits about it, and then you can start making advanced drawings where they can sit well with each other. But if you can't make step 1, then you definitely can't make step 2. No Wasser. I mean, you can always go out if you live close to nature. Just have a solo walk. And make extra amount of Skype calls to buddies and friends and family. Steven, yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely correct. And that's why when we are learning to draw, we are drawing a singular item in isolation, like a sphere. Extremely simple shape with extremely simple direct lighting on it. And then the task is try to draw this as close as you can get, right? You're not getting a extremely advanced shape in an extremely advanced multi-light source setting and then telling you to learn to draw this really well. You won't start out with that, right? So it's always about simplifying and quantifying what you need to learn in a straightforward way. So each element you add adds complexity and difficulty to pull off just right. Oh, 2 minutes left. Oh no. I'm not ready. So I think that's a good rule though. If you want to learn something new, don't like, that's why there's a tutorial level on any video game, right? They give you the basics. This is how you operate the game at its simplest core. And then level 1 is implementing the first rule of, let's say, shooting. So it's extremely simplified way of shooting in the game, right? You run around and aim, and the enemies are more or less standing still. And they incrementally introduce a new gameplay element the further into the game you get, and then after you've taken each step being implemented, then you combine them all in together, and then they go right. So here's a simplified complex situation. Here's an advanced complex situation. And the difference between those can be night and day, even though all the components are together. But the same way, you have to build up to the point. It's like if you don't have a tutorial and they put you at the most complex, advanced complex situation with all the components implemented, you have zero idea what you're going to do, and you're going to get destroyed, right? It's the same basic idea. Like a multiple figure composition is not easy. You can't just start off without any practice beforehand. You have to get to the point where you can merge steps and understand steps, what is required between each part, and then have an advanced picture together. So it's easy. You can compartmentalize the tasks even yourself. Okay, if I have to draw more than one character, what is going to be required of me, right? One of them would be, oh well, anatomy, perspective, light, having the characters emote, right? Have some sort of emotion. You can easily start to quantify that, and then you go, okay, how do I make a person look emotive? Well, I need to have facial expressions and posture and acting, physical acting, as in trying to show emotional state in a body. How do I do that? All right, I need to study acting or movie screens or play acting yourself. And then step by step you can start understanding what you actually have to do. I think that's for me at least, extremely pragmatic approach, and that's how my brain operates the best, by compartmentalizing the problem, learning each step, and then smashing the steps together through implementation. Who's my favorite Spider-Man? It was me when I was little and I had a skull injury and they gave me this webbing thing to keep the stitches and things safe. I was lying in my bed thinking I was Spider-Man. That's my favorite Spider-Man. Probably with some mild brain damage. That's the reason why I am the way I am. Rip. Crosshatch. I kind of like the what's his face? I haven't seen really the last few ones, but the Maguire one was pretty good, and the latest cartoon was pretty cool. The Spindelmannen, indeed. Miguel, doesn't it? Right? All right, let's find someone to raid. Oh, I wonder if she will be online. Actually, that doesn't look that interesting. We could actually raid her. Okay, we're gonna raid Visual Jamie. So this is the topic: team hunting. Two piggy boys gonna come in after you. It's a bit dead drawing. It's a little bit. There's not enough really in there. I'd like a tactical mark somewhere and having a lot more emotion in there, but time doesn't allow me. So come back tomorrow for another random topic of your suggestion, and I'll draw it. This exact same time minus 30 minutes. So if you like what you see, click follow, all that blah 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 pitch, sales pitch. I'm gonna do the outro, then take you to the raid, so don't go anywhere. Have a great one. Thanks everyone for coming, and see you tomorrow. Toodles.